Imagine you woke up in the middle of the night awakened by the sounds of heavy rain and frightening rolls of thunder. You are all alone accompanied by nothing but darkness, when suddenly you heard your dog barking angrily out of nowhere. You felt that something strange is happening. You hear the plates crashing, objects falling, and other noises that made your hair strands on end. You realize that the noise was coming from your kitchen. You are about to check out when suddenly you saw a furry creature looking at you furiously from a distance. Probably you will think that the creature is a monster, a ghost, a thief, or a killer. Well, you got it wrong. Would you believe that the creature is a cat? Yes, it's a cat. Here are the bases. Let's take a look at the following statements in the text. Dog barking angrily, plates crashing, objects falling, furry creature looking furiously. Then most likely, it's a cat. If you didn't get it right, don't worry. We are about to teach you how to make logical guesses, or what we call inferences. For today's episode, we will focus on what inferences are, what are the guidelines in making good inferences, and how to make good inferences. First, let us define inferences. Inferences are educated guesses that we make based on the information that is right in front of us, combined with our own experience. Making an inference is a lot like the chemical process of forming a chemical compound, when two elements combine and form a new substance. You may use the following guidelines to effectively make an inference. Observe all the facts, arguments, and information given by the author. Consider what you already know from your own experiences. When faced with multiple choice answers, determine whether each is true or false based on the information in the passage. Think about the facts of the passage and what may result from them. Think about the causes and effects. You may also try saying, if, then, if the sky is dark, then probably it will rain. For example, the students were conducting an experiment when suddenly a foul smell of a chemical was diffused inside the laboratory. The teacher asked the students to leave the laboratory at once. What do you think is happening inside the laboratory? Is there a thief in the laboratory? Is there a spoiled food inside the laboratory? Is water spilled inside the laboratory? Or was ammonia mishandled inside the laboratory? When choosing an inference, always think of the nearest possible answer. Which among the choices is the nearest possible answer? Right! The nearest possible answer is ammonia was mishandled inside the laboratory. Let us cite evidences that will support this inference. The first phrase indicates that the substance diffused is a form of chemical. It could not be a thief, a spoiled food, nor water spilled. The second phrase indicates that the foul smell is dangerous because the teacher asked them to leave the laboratory at once, which shows that the students were probably under the state of emergency. That is how we make inferences. We base our judgments on factual details presented in the text. Let us try to make inference using the following passages. It was lunch break and the cafeteria was very crowded with students. Jim and his friends decided to eat inside the laboratory since chemistry was their next class. When Miss Torres entered the laboratory and saw Jim and his friends eating inside the laboratory, she looks at them with a trace of disappointment in her eyes. Why do you think Miss Torres reacted like that? What must be the laboratory safety rule that Jim and his friends should have followed? Why? What inference did you make? How did you come up with that inference? Did you infer that the students were noisy inside the laboratory? They were messy? They were playing inside the laboratory? Or they were eating inside the laboratory? If your answer is the same with this one, then you got the most possible inference. The rule, do not eat, drink, or apply cosmetics in the lab, do not store food or drinks in a lab refrigerator or in a cold room, was violated by Jim and his friends. Remember that we should not eat nor drink inside the laboratory, especially when there are chemicals around. In addition, never smell or taste chemicals to identify them. Wash your hands immediately after using any hazardous material and before leaving the lab. Let's try another example. Are you ready? A group of naughty students decided to play inside the laboratory. While other students are busy mixing chemicals, they put a label on different bottles with different chemical contents. They put the label mineral water on the empty label of agua oxinada. They put sugar on the empty label of sodium chloride and in other chemicals. When the class dismissed, they forgot to remove the labels and the next class will be using the chemicals they labeled. What do you think will happen if the next students will be using those improperly labeled chemicals? You have probably inferred that there is a possibility that laboratory hazards might happen, such as starting of fire, minor explosions, food poisoning, and other dangerous incidents. Now, what laboratory rule do these students violate? Intentionally misusing, mishandling, and playing with the chemicals inside the laboratory is strictly prohibited, as it may cause hazardous and dangerous incidents. Now that you already know how to make logical and valid inferences, you are also aware of the safety practices in handling chemicals. Let us see how well do you learn on making inference. The most possible answer is, the chemicals that were mixed incorrectly might produce toxic elements or might result to explosion. Because of the fact that Camille is not listening to the procedures given by the teacher, she just guessed the chemicals to be mixed, which may bring a negative effect. Did you get the same answer? Great! Let's have another example. The answer is, there's a seminar about safety regulations, do's and don'ts when working in a laboratory. The clues are, chairs and other materials are arranged properly, there's a tarpaulin indicating the theme of the seminar, the sound system and the man testing the microphone, and Miss Soledad, the chemistry teacher, asks her students to come to that place before working in the laboratory. Did you get the same answer? Great! Hi viewers! I believe you have learned something from today's episode. Now, let's have a quick wrap-up on our topic. An inference is an educated guess that we make based on the information that is right in front of us, combined with our own experience. When you make inferences, remember that you should base your judgment on factual details presented in the text. Make sure that your inferences are based on logical reasoning and proper judgment. You already know how to infer from text using logical clues presented in the given passage. Once again, this is Radioactive. See you on the next episode.